guess first I probably should get my bias out of the way, and that is to say that for me, I think we would all agree that chiropractic is about supporting the body's function rather than treating any specific symptom or pathology. So to be clear, for me, chiropractic is not about treatment for any infectious disease. Chiropractic care is really a unique salutogenic approach, and the primary focus is on enhancing the body's ability to self-regulate, to self-maintain, and to heal itself, to optimize potential. And we do that through correcting subluxation, and the purpose is to enhance nervous system function. So I just want to be really clear about that. Now, if we think about research today and neurological research, there's one thing that we know for certain, and that is when you adjust somebody, you impact the brain function. Now, when we look at the research on chiropractic and immunity, there's been some debate recently with the statement that came out from WFC up here in Canada. There was some lashback or kickback from our licensing bodies on chiropractors making statements about chiropractic boosting the immune system. Now, what I want to explain to you today is what we can say about chiropractic and immunity, and probably what not to say. Right off the top, coming out and saying that chiropractic boosts immunity is probably not a good thing to say because it's erroneous in its statement. And that is, number one, it doesn't boost immunity. Is it very likely that it has an impact on immunity? Yes. And I'll talk about a few studies today that outline that. Does it boost it? We don't really want to say that, because what if, for example, you have an autoimmune disease? Then, do those people not want chiropractic because they don't want their immune systems boosted? So the language that we use becomes really important. And so I want to explain to you today, number one, some of the studies and reasons why we can say that chiropractic impacts immune system and how our bodies adapt to challenge. And number two, what's the best way to translate and convey that message to patients while still maintaining integrity from a scientific perspective? So there's a small but promising body of research on chiropractic and immunity. And, probably there's about a couple of dozen studies that show that when you have chiropractic care, it may influence and impact our body's immune system and ability to adapt to challenge. Now, I say may influence. Words are really important. And because we don't want to make causative statements from correlative data. Now, it's okay to say that the brain impacts the immune system and that having chiropractic care may have a positive influence on your body's immunity. That's an okay statement, okay? Let me go through some of the other data with you so that you feel comfortable and confident in what you maybe are conveying to people. Now, as a student, some of you are seeing patients at this time, and some of you probably are confused by scrolling through social media and all the different things that you see. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what is out there. And probably I'll start by telling you just a little review of your anatomy. Number one, we know that the brain controls every cell, organ, and tissue in your body. That includes your immune system. Now, up until about 3 years ago, we didn't even really think that the brain had an immune system or that the immune system was in the brain. We now know that that's different. And in fact, we know there's a bi-directional communication between your brain and your immune system. We used to think that the brain's job was to run the body and the immune system's job was to protect it. We now know that they work together and there's an incredible interplay. Hey, if I start to get too nerded out, you let me know, Guy.
I will. Not even close.
Okay, good. So we also know that the autonomic nervous system plays a critical role in neuroimmune interactions. Now, we've been saying for a long time, and we have data to support, that when you're subluxated, it impacts the autonomic nervous system. And in fact, it increases our sympathetic tone. So if when you're subluxated, it impacts the brain and it impacts the autonomic nervous system, and for certain, there is no question that the autonomic nervous system impacts the immune system, then of course there's a relationship. At this point, we don't have a lot of causative clinical data, but we have a good deal of basic science research that we can lean on to at least lend some evidence toward, chiropractic care impacting immunity. And there's been several studies that look at immune markers like interleukin-2, CD4, tumor necrosis factors, and in all of these cases, it suggests that chiropractic care actually influences the biological immune response. Okay? Should I go through a few of the studies?
Yes.
All right. So, in 2008, there was a great study. I'm not going to try and say the author's name because I'll butcher it, but it's from Chiropractic and Manual Therapies. And what they did was they looked at interleukin-2 response with a single chiropractic adjustment. Okay. Now, interleukin-2 really are key players. Think about them as being key players in your body's army of immune cells. And what they found, of course, is that there was a positive change in interleukin-2 with one adjustment. Now, this has been echoed in neurological studies showing the impact of the chiropractic adjustment on metabolic change in the brain, on salivary amylase, on all kinds of other qualitative assessments like quality of life, stress index. So we know that there's this impact, right? So that's the interleukin study that you probably have seen floating around the internet. There's also a study that looks at CD4. Now, what is CD4? They basically are the immune system's helper cells. And what they do is they send signals to all kinds of other cells in your immune system to destroy infection. Now, the study it was by Solano. It's called The Effects of Specific Upper Cervical Adjustments on CD4 Counts, and it was done in HIV patients. And what they found is that, and they did this is a 6-month study, and that these HIV patients that were under consistent chiropractic care for 6 months showed an increase in CD4, which is a positive thing, by 48%. 48%. Now, in the control group, the change was only about 8%. So there's a massive indication that when you have consistent chiropractic care, you are influencing the immune system in a very positive way, and in fact, showing an augmentation or enhancement in immune response. This is very positive. Several other studies looking at all sorts of immune biomarkers. Now, again, these are more correlative than causative, so we have to be mindful of the statements that we make. Those two studies are the ones that are really the closest we can get to that definitive statement of saying that we are positively impacting immunity. There's also been osteopathic studies. They have done more clinical studies on the effect of osteopathic manipulation on the immune system than there have been in chiropractic that are more clinically oriented. And while osteopathy and chiropractic aren't the same, there's a similar application, right? And so they did a study on the effect of osteopathy on pneumonia with very positive results. So these are all extremely encouraging and allowing us to sort of say, chiropractic care can influence what's happening with immune system response. And this is a critical factor right now at this time in this crisis, right? Yeah.
Does